Hi, it's James here from the Sprinkle Donut Forge in Moscow, Texas, and for any of you that have watched my previous video on making the little hooks from the nails, these items, from these items, you've noticed, or you may have noticed, the hardest part about this entire process that takes the most time is punching that hole. And previously I was using this punch made from 1/2" coil spring, and it took me a few shots. I had to work the slug back and forth and then knock it out. Any of you familiar with a hole punch for paper will know that both sides are supported narrowly, and the little punching part comes down and punches through to the other side and knocks the little paper slug out. Well, that's the concept I'm going for, to make something simple and easy to reproduce that you can use to create these holes a lot faster. Now, this punch has a taper on it, so it's necessary to use a punch that can be used in a drilled hole. So I'm going to a 1/4 inch instead of this 3/16 for the reasons that it's easier to get most common fasteners through the hole, and the head of the fastener will still cover the hole. But if you'll notice, it's tapered up here, and then it's cylindrical for the rest of the length of the working end of the tool. Now, I've thought of every kind of which way with what I've got to make this work, because I'd like to speed up the production of these hooks, and I want to share that with you. I've got this piece of mild steel, and it's about 1 1/8" square. Nice and heavy, but it drills good. So what I've done so far is I cleaned up the end that was cut with a cutting torch, good enough for me, and I went ahead and drilled a 1/4 inch hole through it and did enough stock removal on the punch to where it fits comfortably yet firmly inside that hole. So what I'm going to do now is I have marked a place off center with the grinder, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that slot through. I'm going to use one of my existing hooks to kind of align that to see how far down the cut the slice needs to be. That way I can simply jab the hook in there and punch it, and it's done. So I'm going to put this in the vise and cut this slot out. Then we're going to give it the acid test. No, we're not using acid. We're going to give it the test. See if it actually works any better than trying to punch the holes manually without a jig. And if it does, this is an idea for you, something that might help you. So I would let you see me cut the hole with the angle grinder, but it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to cut it to where I can get center on this hole. So basically I'm going to cut down about that far squarely, maybe 3/8 of an inch beyond the hole. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll check it out. See you in a minute. Alright, here's what we've got. We've got that slot cut, and I used the belt grinder to kind of smooth it up and widen it where the slot is a good uniform 1/8 of an inch, which is slightly larger than the thickness of these nail hooks when you drive them out. You can put them in there, drive the other punch through them, and the big conundrum I had was they're going to stick. This hook is cold. It's already got a 1/4 inch hole punched in it, so I'm just going to pretend like we just did it. Let's say you punch through your hook like that. Well, now it's going to stick. It's going to be hard to get it out. You drop it through the hardy hole, take one size under, punch it out, and your hook will have a uniform hole punch. So that looks good on paper. Let's try it for real. I'm going to light the forge, and we're going to construct one of these hooks and try the new hole punching method on it, and see if it's something we can get the hang of. Alright, see you in a minute. these nails are a higher carbon steel, so don't be stingy with your heat. Alright, I think I flattened it out sufficiently. I'm going to check fit with the tool and see how far it goes in there. A little further than I want. It would be handy to put a stop in here to stop it right about at the same level. So if you look at the chalk mark I've made, you can see that it'll stop right about there. So I think that would probably be in order. As far as width wise, slot's cut right about perfect. Let me see if I can get a feel for it before I go hot. It really needs a stop in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center punch a small hole or an indentation and go ahead and drill that out and add a stop. So let's center punch that. Take it to the drill press and do that. So right about where the middle of the hole would be. Alright, so I've created a center punch mark as a stop. Still got enough to hang over the hardy hole to punch the slug out. So let's drill that and we'll add a pin. See you in a minute. Alright, here's what I've done. I drilled that hole all the way through and I installed the shaft of a 6-penny nail through there, and I swelled the ends of the holes with a center punch beforehand and then riveted down and then ground them smooth so you can see where the nail is in the hole and you can see the stop that it creates. So when you take the flattened out nail head and you push it in there from this side, it's not going to go any further than that. As far as the side to side, well, I can eyeball that by looking at the hole, looking at the piece that I'm placing in the hole, and holding it straight with it. Once the punch sits on it, it's game over for this thing. So let's heat it up, let's punch a hole. See you in a minute. Alright, let's give it a shot. Go straight in. Rest against the stop, put the punch in. Let's see what that did. Clean. That's clean. And it did not distort the material whatsoever. There's no rag. Just as clean as if you would have drilled it and filed it off. And it's centered. There's enough meat on top. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. And that's a lot faster and a lot less effort than the previous method. Well, a tool is only a good tool if you can have a repeatable result. So let's do that one more time. See you in a minute. I find if you're going to have a smoother edge on it, go ahead and knock the ears down of the nail head and smooth that down, then reheat it. Alright, let's get it in there. Alright, let's see what we got. See if we got a hole that's like the first one we punched. Yes. Haha, and it's clean too. Alright. Let me just cool that down for the sake of things. Cool the other one down, we'll give a good comparison. See if that's acceptable. Alright. Well, I deem that successful. Here's the first hole we punched. Very clean. Very uniform, did not distort the piece at all. Here's the second hole we punched. Slightly off center, but that's acceptable. If you wanted, you could go ahead and do a little bit more hammering to one side to straighten it up, or just get good at using your jig. Anyway, the stop was essential. That really helped. Also cutting the hole low, giving more support for the punch itself up top. And of course that makes this directional. You have to put things in from one direction. What I did was I had it a little scooted too far to one side. As long as you can eyeball center facing your hole and you're putting a piece in, which I didn't quite do on the second try, you'll still get a repeatable punched hole, which is good to go. Well, I hope this was enlightening for you, and I hope that those of you that want to make these little hooks and punch a lot of holes can take a piece of stock or scrap around your place and make you something similar to this that will work for you and help you along and boost your production a little bit. And in the case of this one, you could probably use a different size hole in the other end and make you a double-ended tool for two different hole sizes. I see no reason why you couldn't do this with a square hole. Of course, you would have to punch a square hole, so that could be quite a bit more complicated. Anyway, that's all I got for today, and I'm going to take this moment to show some respect for a YouTuber that has recently lost his life in a paragliding accident. The King of Random, somebody that was instrumental in putting out videos that helped me and a lot of other people get creative with things. He passed away from a paragliding accident, and we're going to miss him. Check out his channel and you can find the Backyard Foundry. It's a little bucket foundry, and I started back blacksmithing by building that foundry. So yeah, rest in peace, man. We're gonna miss you. Anyway, I hope this was enlightening, and that's all I got for this evening. Till next time, bye.